Thank you so much for joining.
Hare Krishna, this is Vinod Maheshwari from Maryland.
Hare Krishna, Vinod Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much for joining.
Hare Krishna Mataji and Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. This is Hardik Vishnoy from Canada, Edmonton.
Hare Krishna, Hardik Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much for joining. Anybody else would like to announce their name?
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Nikunja Rasudas from Germantown, Maryland.
Hare Krishna, Nikunjaras Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much for joining. Hare Krishna, Padmini Radha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much for joining. And I see our speaker also joined today. So, Hare Krishna, Ramashraddha Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much for joining and welcome to the call, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Ramashraddha Prabhu, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, so today we are so fortunate to have His Grace Ram Shraddha Prabhu from Mayapur, India. And Prabhuji is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada and a very senior disciple of him. And we are so fortunate to have you every alternate Friday. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. Please take over the call now. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Om Jnanatamirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitamena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Vandeham Sri Guru Sivata Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Radha Krishna Padan Lita Sri Shakantam Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nam Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesh Srinivadi Pasadevtan Namam Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Tinamne Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Saraswati Tinam Siva Shavanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabde Krishna Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Davine Prabhave Namo Madhurojwala Premathya Sri Rupanuga Bhakti Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Sri Murte Dinatarini Rupanuga Viradhapa Pasiddhanta Dvanta Harini Manchakalpataruva Sakripa Sandhava Shapatiranam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratishe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate. You can also repeat after me. Go Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanustate Pranamami Haripi Jaitam Surato Mangoramam Vandamatar Gati Matsarvasya Padam Bhaj Shishi Radha Madanamo Devyat Vindaranya Kalvadrumada Sri Vadaratnangara Simhasana Shishi Radha Sila Govinda Deva Prishkali Visivimano Smarana Sriman Rasara Sarambi Vamsi Vatatatastita Karshan Venushanar Gopinath Shri Vindaya Tulsi Devaya Priyaya Kesavasacha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavatyayi Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Sarvagam Bhaktavasaram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Anarpita Charim Chirat Karunayava Tirna Kalau Samarpita Munna Chojala Swam Swabhakti Shriyam हरिपुरत सुंदर पद कदम संदीप्ता सदा हृदय कंदर स्फुरतु सचिनंदन. May Sri Sachinandan Gaura Hari, resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, be forever manifest within the innermost core of your heart. He has descended in this age of Kali out of his causeless mercy to bestow that which had not been revealed for millions of eons. Unmatochwala Sam, most elevated, brilliant devotional service in paramore love. Samsara dukkha jalado pratidasya kama, krodadinakaramakarai kavali kritasya, vashana nigadasya vinashayasya, chaitanya chandramavadehi padavalam. I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death, which is full of misery, and I am being devoured by the crocodiles and sharks of lust, anger, greed, and so forth. Therefore, I am chained by wicked desires. O Chaitanya Chandra, please give me, who is bereft of shelter, a sanctuary to your lotus. Chaitanya Chandra mama hrita kumadam vikasya hridayam videhi nija chintana vringarangai kincha paradani vittimiram nividaduya padamratam sadaya payaya durgatam bham. O Chaitanya Chandra, please make me the lotus flower of my heart bloom so that it will attract the bumblebee of remembrance of you. O merciful Lord, my other request is that after destroying the dense darkness of my offenses, you make me this miserable person drink the nectar of your lotus feet. This is written by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Praise to Nityananda Sankarshana Karana Doshai Garbhodashai Chapayodashai Sheshashaya Syam Sakalas Nitya Nanda Kiram Sharanam Mamas. Sankarsana Shesh Naga and Vishnu who lie on the Karna Garbhodak and Shira ocean are the plenary portions and the portions of the plenary portions of Nityananda Ram. May he give me shelter. Nityananda Navastabhyam Premananda Pradayini Kalo Kalmashanashai Janavapate. I offer my pranams unto Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who bestows the bliss of divine love, who eliminates the filth of the age of Kali, and who is the master of Chandra Devi. Praise to God Nityananda. Ajanulambita Bhujau Kanakavadato Sankirtanaikaputaro Kamalaya Taksho Vishwambaro Tujavaro Yugadharma Palo Vande Jagatpriya Karo Karuna Hota. I worship the incarnation of mercy, Sri Gaur Nityananda, whose arms extend to their knees, whose complexions are dazzling, and who inaugurated the Sankirtan movement, whose eyes are large like lotus petals, who nourish the entire universe, who are the best of the Brahmanas, who protect the Yuga Dharma, and who are engaged in performing pleasing activities for the welfare of all the world. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Please repeat, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Jai.
Jai.
Hari Bol. What's the story with this? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Please repeat.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naranam Namaskritya.
Narayana Namaskritya.
Naranchaiva Narottamam.
Naranchaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswati Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirahet.
Udirahet.
Nashtapraya Shinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha
Punyam Saranam Kirtana
Hridyantasto Yavadrani
Yamajasramadrani
Vidunoti Suratsatam
Surikshitam
Nashtaprayesha Vadreshu
Saipagresu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavatam Seva
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Yuktam Sloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki.
Bhakti
Nice. So now we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 14, titled Ideal Family Life. Text 5, we finished yesterday. I'll read once again the translation. While working to earn his livelihood as much as necessary to maintain body and soul together, one who is actually learned should live in human society unattached to family affairs, although externally appearing very much attached. And today is text 6th. Please repeat. I'm sure you all have books, so please repeat the verse. Jnataya pitarau putra. Jnataya pitarau putra. Bhratara suhrdo pare. Yad vadanti yad ichanti. Chanumodita nirman maha. Everybody should participate, then it's much more better. Okay. Translation. An intelligent man in human society should make his own program of activities very simple. If there are suggestions from his friends, children, parents, brothers, or anyone else, he should externally agree, saying, yes, that is all right. But internally, he should be determined not to create a cumbersome life in which the purpose of life will not be fulfilled. There's no purpose, but a very important words. We have to say yes to everybody because everybody will come. Why don't you do this business? Or why don't you do this? Or why don't you do that? Yes, yes, sure. That's a good idea. Like that. Externally, we should agree to people who come up with all sorts of suggestions. But internally, one should be very determined not to create a cumbersome life in which the purpose of life will not be fulfilled. This is called simple living, I think. Not too much going onto the ways of the material world. New sari, new furniture, new this, new that. This will entangle us so much that we'll have no time to chant and hear and remember Krishna. Get up early in the morning, Brahma Muhurta time, 4:30, waking up the Lord, Mangalarti, Tulsi Parikrama, Tulsi Puja. These are the ways, this is the purpose of human life. This is how Vedic culture was surviving for the last millions of years. Because in every house you'll find a Tulsi, they will worship the Tulsi, they'll go Parikrama, they'll offer some water and maybe a cow they get their own milk, they don't buy packed milk from outside. Nobody knows what is mixed with it. Most of the things nowadays are so contaminated in the age of Kali that your food which you're eating and all these things are completely chemically contaminated. They look big and beautiful, but if you eat them, you will have no strength getting from that. So one has to make, even do simple things, grow some vegetables. And I've seen we have planted some okras. In a matter of days, the okra plant is coming and slowly flowers are going to come. And we have enough okras. And this is one example. There's so many plants we have planted. And things are growing on its own. We are not having a big workload of people working and so on and so forth. So life should be so molded that we'll have most time for spiritual activities. and little time for material activities. Something cooking very simple, so that we don't make a far out things in the house, pizza, gitza, and all these things. And then what happens? You'll end up spending quite some time. There's nothing more simpler than cooking rice, dal, and sabji and chapati. So one should try to make our life as easy as possible. Eating, sleeping should be done as a matter of fact, just like that. Not something very fancy. So this way we will get most times for spiritual activities. Hearing, chanting, remembering, inviting Vaishnavas to one's house, have a program, Harikatha, Sankirtan, give some charity to the Brahmanas. This is how one should conduct one's life. Text 7. Please repeat. Divyam,
Divyam,
Bhaumam,
Om,
Chantariksham,
Antariksham,
Vitham,
Vidhyam,
Achyuta,
Achyuta,
Nirmitam,
Nirgitam,
Tat Sarvam,
Tat Sarvam,
Upayunjana,
Upenanjana,
Upayunjana,
Pranujana,
Etat Kuryat,
Yatgurya,
Svato Buddha.
Tato Vidya,
I don't hear anybody else's voice except Vinod Prabhu's voice. Everybody sleeping over. Translation. The natural product created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be utilized to maintain the bodies and souls of all living entities. The necessities of life are of three types. Those produced from the sky, from rainfall, from the earth, from the mines, seas, and fields, and from the atmosphere, that which is obtained suddenly and unexpectedly. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. We living entities in different forms are all children of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita, 14th chapter, 4th verse. Sarva yoneshu kaunteya murtaya sambhavantiya tasham brahma mahat yonir aham bija pradambita. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, that I am the sweet-giving Father. The Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, is the Father of all living entities in different species and forms. One who's intelligent can see that all living entities in 8,400,000 species of life, bodily forms, are parts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and are His sons. Everything within the material and spiritual worlds is the property of the Supreme Lord. Isha Vasham Idam Sarvam. Therefore, everything has a relationship with Him. Srila Rupa Goswami says in this regard, Prapancha Kataya Buddhya Hari Sambandhi Vastunaha Mumukshubhi Harityago Vairagyam Palgu Katyate. One who rejects anything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is incomplete in his renunciation. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-256. Although Mayavadi philosophers say that the material creation is false, actually it is not false, it is factual, but the idea that everything belongs to the human society is false. Everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for everything is created by Him. All living entities, being the Lord's sons, His eternal parts and parcels, have the right to use their Father's property by nature's arrangement. As stated in the Upanishad, Tena Tyaktena Bhunjita Magridas Kasyatvid Dhanam. Everything should be satisfied with the things allotted to him by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should not encroach upon another's property or rights. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Annat bhavanti bhutani parjanyat annabhava. Yajnat bhavanti parjanyo yajna karma samudbhava. All living in bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from the rains. Rains are produced by the performance of yajna, sacrifice, and yajna is the born of prescribed duties. When food grains are sufficiently produced, both animals and human beings can be nourished without difficulty for their maintenance. This is nature's arrangement. Prakrite kriyamanani gurai karmani sarvasa. Everyone is acting under the influence of material nature, and only fools think that they can improve upon what God has created. The householders are peacefully responsible for seeing that the laws of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are maintained without fighting between men, communities, societies, and nations. Human society should properly utilize the gifts of God, especially the food grain that grows because of rainfall from the sky. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Yajnat Bhavanti Parjanya. So that rainfall will be regulated. Human society should perform yajnas, sacrifices. Yajnas were previously performed by offering of oblations of ghee and food grain. But in this age of Kali, of course, this is no longer possible, for the production of the ghee and fruit grains has diminished because of the sinful life of human society. However, people should take to Krishna consciousness and chant the Hare Krishna mantra as recommended in the Shastras. Yajna Sankirtana Praya Rajanti Sumedasa. A people throughout the world take to the Krishna conscious movement and chant the easy sound vibration of the transcendental name, fame of the Supreme Personality of God. There will be no scarcity of rainfall. Consequently, food grains, fruits, flowers will be properly produced, and all the necessities of life will be easily obtained. Grahasthas or householders should take the responsibility for organizing such natural production. It is therefore said, Tasyaiva heto prayateta kovida. An intelligent person should try to spread the Krishna consciousness through the chanting of the holy names of the Lord, and all the necessity of life will automatically follow. Beautiful verse, beautiful purport by Srila Prabhupada. It covers practically all aspects of life. So there are necessities of life are of three types. Those produced from the sky, from rainfall, from the earth, from mines and the seas or the fields, or from the atmosphere, that which is obtained suddenly and unexpected. Now, from the rainfalls, we know through the rainfall only the souls come into especially those who come out of the higher planet, they come through the rainfall onto this planet Earth. And they carry the soul, which will finally enter into the rice and different crops. And then the living entities move forward. And when they are harvested, they're either eaten by the cows or by the humans. And that's how they move further and further in evolution. So the human form of life is meant for eating such foodstuffs from rainfall, not killing animals. These are for those people who are in mode of ignorance, Rakshasas and Asuras. They eat animal food. But Brahminical culture, nobody eats animal food unless it's absolutely necessary. You're on the verge of death, maybe. Maybe if you're living in the desert where practically nothing grows. But nowadays, even there also, they're able to convert water and distribute it all over. They're seeding the clouds, the rain is coming. So many things they are doing. So nowadays, there's absolutely no excuse than eating vegetables, fruits, milk, grains, and nuts. And Krishna also says, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayatsati. One should offer into him food that comes in the mode of goodness, under the rain, which is created by rainfall. And one should offer that. And one should increase his sattvic nature more and more and more and more and more. The more the sattva gun comes, the more the inclinations towards hearing from Shastras, associating from sadhus will come. If you don't hear, if you don't have goodness, then we'll have so many multiple desires of associating with so many men and hearing all sort of news. And nowadays, you open the newspaper or any news, it's full of problems. There's problems in different parts of the world. And even in India, there's problems from within. Recently, they had a big heavy problem in Nagpur, I heard. So there are all sort of elements, 3 types of miseries: Adhyatmik, Adi Bhautik, Adi Daivik. The 3 types of kleshas are created 24 hours a day, non-stop. Adi Bhautik means, Adhyatmik means created from within, mind, intelligence. There's disturbance in the mind, the consciousness, the senses don't work properly. This is Adhyatmik. Adi Bhautik means from other living entities, mosquitoes, humans, animals, and so many entities. And Adi Daivik means too much rain from demigods, too much rain, too much sunshine, too much wind, tornadoes. In America, you are familiar, tornadoes. Practically, it kills all thousands of people. Houses vanish from the place. So, being these difficulties are present in the society for everybody. Not that only humans have problems, for everybody. Sarva Yonishu Kaunte. Krishna says, all living entities. Even though Krishna confirms the fact, Tesha Maha Brahma Mad Yonir Am Bija Pratampita. I am the father of all living entities. Therefore, being father, he provides everything. Not only rainfall, not only mines from where we can take, after all, in the Vedic times, wars were taking place. Kings are, fighting with other kings. They need a sword and a shield. So now, what is it made of? The sword is made out of iron. So they have to get so much iron ore, and they have to purify and make it into a big sword or spear or whatever it is, javelin and so many things. So this is allowed. This necessities are there. Then from the atmosphere, that which he is obtained suddenly or unexpectedly. Suddenly you get an inheritance. And nowadays, sometimes you get a lottery ticket if you're lucky. So Krishna is providing everything for all living entities. But unfortunately, in some philosophical ideologies, they say there are no souls in the animals. And they even say animals are created for humans to dominate, dominion over them. And their understanding of dominion means they are meant to be eaten up. There are no souls, therefore you can eat them up and you will have no reaction. But Vedic understanding is in the 12th canto or 11th canto, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes the verse, Mam Saha means, Mam means me, Saha means you. I kill you, you kill me. This is how it goes. So if you kill animals unnecessarily, then you are implicated in the laws of karma, of action and reaction. That is why all the problems are existing in the society. You see, people are no feelings. They kill women, children, old people, soldiers, everybody. Previously, battlefield of Kurukshetra, there were no women, no children, and no old people were involved. Only soldiers. And Arjuna was worried. If we kill all these soldiers, then all the women will become widows. What will happen to them? Then unnecessary population will create. Varna Shankara will be created. Because if the widows are there, some men will be lusty. They will try to, have exchange with them, have sex with them, this and that. So he was worried. That's why he was one of the reasons he was not wanting to fight in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So devotees know what it means to create a war. Nowadays, they don't care about all these things. Innocent people are killed and the war is extended all over and people don't know what they're doing most of the time. But it is very unfortunate. This is due to lack of knowledge. How many people are discussing Bhagvatam every day? except the devotees or people who belong to the Varnashram system or Vedic culture. They, every day morning, 1 hour at least minimum, they read loud and discuss Vedic philosophy. You have to have a philosophical understanding of life itself, especially that which is bona fide philosophy, that which is coming through disciplic succession. 4 sampradayas are there. Rudra Sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya, Madhva Sampradaya, and Brahma Sampradaya. Brahma Sampradaya is Madhva Sampradaya. Then Kumara Sampradaya. So if one belongs to one of these Sampradayas, then automatically this process includes in their life. Every day morning, reading Bhagavatam, discussing, naturally some questions may come, and if one is fortunate enough to have a sadhu in the house, we should request him to speak about the Bhagavatam philosophy. And every day we should discuss life philosophically, not just live and, just go on with our life. No, then it's a life of ignorance. That will not help us. If our children will have questions, we should be ready to answer them very scientifically, very logically. And Prabhupada has taught us this way of thinking, logical thinking, scientific thinking, and philosophical thinking, because our thinking can only go up to a certain level. But ultimately, we have to be connected to the disciple succession so that the knowledge which comes down, apaurushaya knowledge, that which comes down, it's free from the 4 defects of conditional life. And therefore, we can have perfect knowledge. Certain things are beyond our mind and intelligence. Where are you going to get the knowledge? What is happening in the sun planet? We cannot go there. We will not have this access. But there is enough knowledge in the Vedic literatures of the sun planets, how to propitiate the sun planet, the rain god, demigods. People don't have that idea that there are demigods living such. Isn't it? We are going to school, college, nobody talks about demigods. Nobody even talks about who we are. Are we this body or something different from this body? Nobody talks about. Simply we are living in ignorance. The so-called education is a complete system of ignorance, and that will only make us work very hard for our life. It's not possible to lead a simple life with this knowledge of ignorance. Not possible. Therefore, we have to be very careful how much education we should give to our children. Not unnecessary modern education, which creates ugra karmic life. Very exploitative mentality. In America, the big Stanford, Harvard, what do they teach? How to exploit the rest of the world for our means. Now the Trump is also doing the same thing. Yeah, they're all doing the same thing. Basically, they are asuras, and they create knowledge which will only create exploitative mentality. And one should be very careful about this. One should avoid that such thing. As little as possible, this type of education should be given. We're not going to miss out much from this type of education. The real education is Vedic knowledge. Every day we are reading Raja Vidyam, Raja Guyam, Pavitram, Param Vidam Uttamam. Krishna says this is the Bhagavad Gita, this is the king of all education, the secret of all secrets. This is what we should be hearing about. Prapancha Kataya Buddhya Hari Sambandhi Vastuna Mukshubi Parityago Vairagyam Falgu Kachyati. One who rejects anything without knowledge of the relationship to Krishna is incomplete and in his renunciation. We should see how everything is connected to Krishna, how every living entity is connected to Krishna. And some we can use it in Krishna's service, some we cannot. We cannot just use snakes and scorpions in Krishna's service, even though we have to respect them. They are also part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is residing within their hearts as Paramatma. Therefore, we have to see things in relationship to Krishna and also in relationship to Krishna's service. We may not be able to engage the whole world in our little world of household life. Prabhupada, he created a world in which the whole world can live because he has given that knowledge. how to see everything in connection with Krishna. Although the Mayavadi philosopher says that the material creation is false, actually it is not false, it is factual, but the idea that everything belongs to human society is false. Nobody can perfectly describe than the Prabhupada. So this very important things we have to listen, hear, discuss, meditate upon. Tena taktena bhunjita magrida kasya svidjana. Everyone should be satisfied with things allotted to him by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one should encroach upon others' property or rights. Yeah. So these are all important things of life, and one should imbibe it in our own personal life, individually, in a family unit, and collectively as much as possible with the rest of the humanity. Annat bhavanti bhutani parjanyat anna sambhavas, yajnat bhavanti parjanyo, yajnas karma samudbhava. I had the good opportunity of serving Srila Prabhupada during the opening of Hyderabad temple. And Prabhupada, I arranged for a press conference. We had one of the biggest press conferences. 45 press people came. And then he asked me, what topic are we going to speak? Then I choose this verse. Prabhupada, I told all people are confused about how one should live, how to conduct one's life. Then I said I selected this verse. All living entities subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by the performance of yajna. Sacrifice of yajna is born of prescribed duties. So I told Prabhupada about this. He said, very nice. And then he had a press conference based on this verse. You see? So these are all, and Prabhupada beautifully explained in the press conference that by yajna means sacrifice. Now, in the modern term, a sacrifice can be called taxing. We might earn $10,000, but we are not eligible to enjoy all the $10,000. $1,000 or whatever amount is prescribed by the state, you have to give it as tax. And the tax, in turn, will be engaged for what is useful for the rest of the society. Billions of dollars are being tax coming, and they're used for the welfare of the common people. By roads, and nowadays they can produce electricity and this and that. But nowadays, they are creating wars and supporting wars by this extra money, billions and billions and billions of dollars. This is not the purpose of taxing people. It's a fight between haves and have-nots. That's all it is. And the have-nots are becoming useless, and the haves are also becoming useless. Because simply it is meant for exploitation. They will get rid of the government if they don't like it. They're trying to invade into India, and there are enough people in India, enough parties who are falling prey to all these outside forces. Now, the reason why the Indians are falling prey to that is because they don't perform any more Sankirtana Yajna. They have this knowledge, but they don't use this knowledge for the actual purpose. Therefore, what does Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says? Bharat bhumite manusya janmaja janmasarthi karo kari paropaka. The duty of Indians is especially who are born in India, who are raised in India. There are so many holy rivers are flowing. The whole country is nourished by these river waters. So many incarnations of the Lord have taken place here in this land. And we hear about Krishna's pastime from thousands of years. That's why India was not overtaken by Muslims or Christians. They could not do it. Because there's enough philosophical conviction is there among the people's minds and hearts. But now that is being eradicated slowly by introducing a system of education by the British. To such a degree, nowadays we are also speaking in English, not in Hindi anymore. What to speak of Sanskrit? Nobody learns Sanskrit. Practically you can count on fingers schools which teach Sanskrit. Everybody wants to go to English medium school to learn maths, physics, chemistry. and become a Shudra, standing in the line after education, after graduation, standing in the line to get a job. Like all of you are educated in India by nice parents, samskars are given to some degree, but everybody went to America to study, work there. The only reason is $1 American is equal to 85 rupees. That's all. There is no really other things you can get from America. So that everybody wants to make quick money. But Indians also earn money, may not be that much. 500 euros in India means 500 euros multiplied by 92 rupees. That's a lot of money. But because of this false standard of life which has come into our brain, that having money is security. But security means, as it is mentioned here, it's not the money that is security, it is your shelter of Krishna. If one takes shelter of Krishna, he becomes secure. Abhaya charanara vinda Vajahu Remana Srinanda Nandana Abhaya charanara vinda. This is the whole concept of life. To take shelter of Krishna, because at the time of death, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajate ante kaleva. Why does this says in Bhagavad Gita? Whatever one thinks at the time of death determines what type of body one gets. Therefore, our whole program should be how to remember Krishna all the time when we are living and engage in blissful Krishna conscious devotional service, devotional life, and at the time of death, able to remember Krishna and get a body which is suitable to go take us back home, back to God. First in the Prakat Leela, there's a whole system how one goes there. There's a Madhuri Kadambani states very clearly, Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha Tata Bhajana Kriya Anatta Nivriti Nishta Ruchi Rati Ashakti Avan Prem. This is the systematic path of progressing. Sadhan Bhajan must be directed towards obtaining Bhav Bhakti. And Bhav Bhakti should be directed towards attaining Prima Bhakti. If Sadhan Bhakti is not trained towards Bhav Bhakti, that is spontaneous love for Krishna, then that is not called Sadhan Bhakti, it is called pious activities. So Sadhan Bhakti must have a goal, that is Bhav Bhakti. And Bhav Bhakti must have a goal, that is Prema Bhakti. So this is the way one will get a chance to take birth in Prakata Leela, in the material, whichever universes Krishna is appearing there. Brajbhumi is appearing in all over the universe. And when there's a chance to take birth from the womb of a Gopi and render guided by the eternal associates of Krishna. And then when Prema matures, then one goes back to the spiritual world in their original spiritual body. That is very individual and unique for every one of us. Brahmanda Brahmita Kona Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beej. What is this beej? Beej, a seed produces a plant, then gives flowers, then gives fruits. And if you take care of them, they grow very nice. If you don't take care of them and allow the animals to eat, we have seen sometimes animals, rats coming and eating all the. This time we planted a lot of peas, but no peas came to us. The peas were all eaten by rats. They're under the ground. And suddenly I saw in the morning there's a big hole and all they're taking out the mud from the hole, and the whole mud is piled up near the plants. And all the rats, they took away all the peas. So this happens. So we have to follow the process, understand the process, and perform yajna, sacrifice. Human form of life is for performing yajna, sacrifice. Animals cannot perform yajna. Birds, trees cannot, they can only facilitate us. A cow cannot perform yajna, but cow gives milk, and from the milk is produced yogurt, butter, ghee, and the ghee can be used in yajna. This way the cow gets engaged in Krishna's service. So whatever we have money, wealth, this, that, should be used for performance of yajna. And in this age of yajna, it's as a family to come together morning and evening, perform arti, sing kirtan together, and hear Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. There are so many beautiful bhajans. Narottam Das Thakur, Bhakti Thakur has sung how to sing the chanting of the holy name, in what bhav, one mood. So one must try to inculcate and draw in from the bhajans of the acharyas. If you read 7th canto, this same chapter, 7th canto, 9th chapter, verse 18. One actually will sing bhajans following in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj. I'll just read it to you. Very interesting chapter, 7, 9, 18. Prahlad Maharaj is offering this prayer. I'll read it to you. We are in the chapter. Here it is. Soham priyasya suhrdasya paradevataya leela katastava narsinga virincha gita agnyastittarmi anugrahanan gunavipramukto durgani te pada yugalaya hangsa sangha. O my Lord Narsingadev, by engaging in your transcendental loving service in the association of devotees who are liberated souls, hangsas, I shall become completely uncontaminated by the association of the three modes of nature and be able to chant the glories of your Lordship, who are so dear to me. I shall chant your glories following exactly in the footsteps of Lord Brahma and his disciples' succession. In this way, I shall undoubtedly be able to cross the ocean of passion. Lord Brahma and his disciples. So we are coming in Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, especially from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Madhavendra Puri, and all our acharyas have sung such beautiful bhajans, full of wonderful import. And let us see what Prabhupada says in the purport. A devotee's life and duty are very well explained herein. As soon as a devotee can chant the holy name and the glories of the Lord, he certainly comes to the liberated position. Attachment for glorifying the Lord by hearing and chanting the holy name and activities of the Lord, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, certainly brings one to the position where material contamination is absent. One should chant the bona fide songs received from the disciples' succession. This is Prabhupada's statement. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the chanting is powerful when one follows the disciples' succession. Evam parampara praptam imam raja risho vidu. Manufacturing many ways of chanting will never be effective. However, chanting the song or the narration led by the previous acharyas, Mahajana Yenagata Sapanta, is extremely effective. And this process is very easy. Therefore, in this verse, Prahlad Maharaj uses the word Agnya, easily. Accepting the thoughts of exalted authorities through disciplic succession is certainly much easier than the method of mental speculation by which one tries to invent some means to understand the absolute truth. The best process is to accept the instructions of the previous acharyas and follow them. Then God realization and self-realization becomes extremely easy. By following this method, one is liberated from the contamination of material modes of nature. Thus, one can certainly cross the ocean of nations in which there are many miserable conditions. By following in the footsteps of the great acharyas, one associates with the hangsas or paramahamsas, who are completely freed from material contamination. Indeed, by following the instruction of the acharyas, one is always freed from all material contamination, and thus one's life becomes successful, for one reaches the goal of life. This material world is miserable regardless of one's standard of life. Of this, there is no doubt. Attempts to mitigate the miseries of material existence by material methods will never be successful. One must take to Krishna consciousness to become really happy, otherwise happiness is impossible. One might say that becoming advanced in spiritual life involves a tapasya, voluntarily accepting some inconvenience. However, such inconvenience is not as dangerous as material attempts to mitigate miseries. You see? So here it says very clearly accepting in this verse, Prahlad uses the word Agnya, accepting the thoughts of exalted authorities through disciplic succession is certainly much easier than the method of mental speculation. Nowadays, Kirtan is very popular, even in ISKCON and even outside ISKCON. But singing is more or less like there are 2-3 harmoniums sometimes. And singing all sort of melodies, and there are no bhajans whatsoever. And if you read every song, you go to the last section of each song, after singing such glorious pastimes or glorious, describing glorious activities of the Lord, but the devotee says, oh, I am so unfortunate that when will that day be mine that when I will realize all this? They are Uttama Bhagavatas who have written in Shuddha Sattva. So that when we are chanting, we should not become proud. Rather, we should become more and more humble. And we should feel that we are insignificant. Not that, oh, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, I'm better than everybody else. That is pride. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Nadanam, Najanam, Nasundarim, Gavatam, Va, Jagadisha, Kame, Mama, Janmani, Janmani, Shwari, Bhavatar, Bhakti, Rajati. Tinadapi, Sunichana, Tarerapi, Saishana, Amanina, Manadena, Kirtaniya, Sada. We cannot chant purely unless we are connected to the pure devotees. And one should sing these songs, meditate on their meaning, discuss. That is itself is a Shastra by itself. Then one should hear Bhagavatam. When we were young devotees, we were at least spending more than half an hour or 1 hour singing the songs of the Acharyas. There was a book called Songs of the Vaishnava Acharyas in the earlier days. We sang so many songs. Even now, I try to sing these songs, especially songs glorifying the disciple, like spiritual masters appear in disciplic succession. Krishna hoite chaturmukha, hoy Krishna sevarmukha, Brahma hoite naradera mati. These are, we should know that we have every family has a gotra, seminal succession. Similarly, we have a spiritual gotra, that we are following Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, just like Prahlad Maharaj says. We are following the footsteps of Brahma and his disciple succession. So it's important to know all these things. Then that will create us this shelter, the security of being confident that we are doing the right thing. Not that we are confident and we are puffed up and we are arrogant. No, we become insignificant. We are insignificant. The soul is 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair. So how small we are, we cannot even see that. We cannot see with our own mind, what to speak of intelligence. We cannot see all these things. And then when they come to soul, whose presence is felt by the consciousness, which is spread all over the body, that we cannot see at all. That requires spiritual vision. And this spiritual vision comes by the mercy of the Acharyas, which is given in these songs. Prabhupada said that is the duty of every devotee. So we should try to imbibe all these instructions which Prabhupada gives, an ideal family life. Family life is meant for performing again, not our own little world, creating our own little world. Not spend too many things in accumulating things. One should not accumulate too many. Too many things means your time will be lost in trying to maintain that. Keep it simple. There's a saying in English, KISS, K-I-S-S. Keep it simple, stupid. It is an address to the mind. The mind is so stupid, it makes things complicated all the time. So we have to remind our mind, keep it simple, stupid. And then follow the footsteps of the previous acharyas. So I'll stop at this point. If there are any, it's meant the last 3 lines, an intelligent person should try to spread the Krishna consciousness through the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, and all the necessities of life will automatically follow. Beautiful conclusion. So if there are any questions or comments, please ask now.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, this is Geeta.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for this very wonderful class. And I was very intrigued to know that you also spent time with Srila Prabhupada.
Yes.
So, Prabhuji, how many years did you spend with him?
Well, I joined in 75 in Vrindavan. I was initiated then at the opening of the temple, 75, 76, and 77 he left.
Do you mind telling us some
But
of your experiences with him?
well, but the experiences in those days, whichever temple we were staying, we are supposed to serve under the temple directors. And they were following Prabhupada nicely at those days. So we never get the chance, especially in India, to meet with Prabhupada on a day-to-day level. You know, when he comes to your temple, then you get a chance to do some service, washing his clothes and things like that. Or go for a morning walk. I had a chance to go for a morning walk many times. And then the other devotees are asking questions. Sometimes we ask questions. So experiences means what? Our basic business is to follow the instructions of Prabhupada, which comes in the form of his books, in the Bhagvatam, purports, and daily get up in the morning, chant rounds, and do. This is the basic principle. Of course, you know, many times do some stupid things. Prabhupada would chastise me, things like that. You know, we had the chance.
You're very fortunate, Prabhuji.
Yes, good fortune is there. That is our inheritance. But you are also fortunate by reading Prabhupada's books. You have taken to this process. So you are equally fortunate. Like everybody is fortunate if they come to Krishna. Krishna came 5,000 years ago, doesn't mean you cannot have connection with Krishna. You can also have connection.
Yeah.
Krishna is ever existing since time immemorial. But everybody, even now, today, one can have that experience of relationship with Krishna. Simply one has to follow this instruction. You experience somebody by following the instruction. A wife follows the instruction of the husband, then she knows she's connected to a man who's my husband. See, if you don't do service and don't follow instruction, then you're not, your connection is very weak. And that's how people will end up divorcing each other. So similarly, we are connected to Krishna by following his instructions. We connected to Guru by following his instructions.
Right.
So if you follow the instructions, what Prabhupada says, then automatically you're connected.
Right. Yeah, my second question, Prabhuji, is that yagna means havan?
No, yajna means that which is meant for a time which is sacrificed for Krishna's pleasure. Havan was done before. That is also, it is also included in our life as Vaishnavas. But the real yajna is Sankirtana yajna, taking time to chant the holy name together with the family members.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Jai Ho. Any other
Hare,
questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam. This is Hardik
Jai.
Bishnoi from Edmonton. A very nice lecture, Prabhuji. I really enjoyed it, specifically when you said that this is we should all know the science of Vedic literature and Bhagavad Gita, and the main reason I got attracted to this devotion life was because when I read Bhagavad Gita, I everything was so like scientifically explained with good reasoning and everything. So that's what attracted me more and more towards this. And every time I listen to Krishna's glories and devotees' glories, and it just amazes me. I have a question, two questions. One is, I often hear people like in our discussions that the Vedic science is more or less, or the stories that we hear is more or less explaining the scientific knowledge that exists in this material world. For example, I heard in a lecture that the moon cycles, the moon, like in our Vedic literature, stories that the moon god Chandra prefers his wife Rohini, and in scientific terms they say that the story was said because the moon actually, when it travels, it reaches Rohini nakshatra twice in its cycle. So
Mm.
so these kind of things, they say that whatever stories that we hear is entirely a explanation of scientific knowledge that exists in this material world. So can you explain
Mm.
uh, how to distinguish what is being explained as scientific knowledge and what is the real knowledge?
See, the point is, what we call it as modern science is made basically generated from direct sense perception. This is a ascending knowledge,
Mhm.
which is also full of mistakes. The four defects of the conditioned souls: committing mistake, cheating, imperfect knowledge, and imperfect senses. So this scientific knowledge, what we hear in the modern sense, is a product of imperfect senses. Real scientific knowledge was coming from the sages, from all our acharyas, from time immemorial. Krishna says, I gave this knowledge to the sun god, Vivashwan, to Arjuna.
Yes.
And Arjuna was asking the question, how do you know that you existed then? Then Krishna says, both of us were existing, but you don't remember. I remember. So therefore, Krishna, God is defined, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kama. This is so scientific. What's so unscientific? It is not just stories that tell these realities of existence. The stories itself is the realities of existence is given through the example of personalities like Pandavas or Draupadi, or so many personalities. The stories cannot exist by itself. They are actually giving us a certain direction in our life to follow. And that comes in the form of scientific understanding of devotional service. Why should we surrender to Krishna? There's a song, if you go to the YouTube, you got to serve somebody by Bob Dylan. He's a famous rock and roll star in the 60s. And if you play that song, you'll be surprised. He said you either got to serve the devil or the Lord. But you got to serve somebody. Every now and then he comes up with this verse, chorus. You got to serve somebody. So serving is a scientific principle. Now it's a question of the knowledge what you have. If you have spiritual knowledge, you serve the Lord. If you know spiritual knowledge, asuric knowledge, you'll serve the senses. You cannot avoid serving. So scientific knowledge means bringing you to the point of serving the Supreme Lord. Knowing very well that Krishna is the maintainer of all the souls in the spiritual, material and spiritual worlds. Who is maintaining all the living entities? That's why he's called chief of the living entities. How does he become chief? Because he maintains and fulfills the desire of all living. Whereas we cannot maintain anybody. How many people can we maintain? As long as we get a salary, we may be able to maintain. But once the salary doesn't come, what are you going to do?
Yes. So, Prabhuji, then I can say in this way: the stories are true, the real, but the it does has the scientific explanation, but it's more than say. It's more to say that whatever we see in this material world, whether it be science or spiritual science, it is to make us understand that, hey, there is Krishna, there is God who is maintaining, who is creating and satisfying our needs, because we want to be in this material world. So that's so in a nutshell, it is whatever path we take, whether it be scientific path or complete scientific path or a spiritual path, we all end up towards a creator who made this universe possible, who made this gravity, who made this thermodynamics, etc., etc. So we are just trying to explore the science as well, but it's technically taking us closer and closer to the creator who did this, who made this possible. Can I say it in that way?
It will only take, this modern education will only take you to creator if you are pious enough.
Yes,
You
and
have
it
to
is a
have
long
some
process.
sukriti.
Yes.
Yes, sukriti must be there. Four types of people come to Krishna. The sukritivan, those who are artho arthati jigyasu jnani. Some people are coming to Krishna for money.
Yes.
Artho artharthi, because you're sick, you go to Krishna, you're suffering. And some are curious about different philosophies. And some who is a jnani, who knows this, the opulences of the Lord. And he says of the four types of people, those who are jnanis are very dear to me, because once they take to my service, they'll never give it up. But the other three, when they get what they want, the interest in Krishna will go down.
Mm-hmm.
So scientific, so-called scientific understanding is only become scientific when it comes to Krishna. And once it comes to Krishna, then one should follow the descending process. Ascending process has its own limitations because it is a product of direct sense perception. There's no self-realized souls. So among the so-called scientists, they were thinking, I remember when I was young, I was going to college and school, we were seeing, I was reading the books of Isaac Asimov, and he would come up with a Big Bang theory. And I was wondering, wow, how does that happen? Nobody can explain us.
Yes.
But everybody accepts because he is an acharya. He is considered as somebody great. He's a Nobel laureate, blah, 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 whatever it is. But Big Bang doesn't produce an order. So Prabhupada said, who created the who bang? Did the Big Bang. That is a conscious living entity. Whenever you say an airplane is flying, whatever you make, the cause of cause, all causes is Krishna, because he is inspiring from within. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritir jnanam aponam cha. Vedeshu sarvairaham eva vede vedanta vid vedakriti eva cha. He is the one who is inspiring. He is the cause for forgetting, and he gives forgetfulness, knowledge, and remembrance. So ultimately, whether you call it modern education or all the scientific, I mean, the whole process of Bhagavatam is very scientific. You cannot accept Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam without scientific understanding. You have to apply your intelligence.
Yes, Prabhu.
Why does it? I mean, Prabhupada, if you listen to some of his videos, he would speak all the philosophy. Then he would ask the scholar, "Does it appeal to your intelligence?" He would say that. That means, does it make sense to you to begin with? Is making sense is scientific, not unscientific. Whereas the modern theory, man evolved from monkeys and some big bang or some, dinosaurs. Nobody has seen a dinosaurs at all. Oh, millions of years ago. But we have no such reference in the Shastras. If something happened millions of years ago, it should happen today also. If it is scientific, man came from monkey. So let us see, when a monkey dies, what happens. Does it evolve into a human? No. You get a dead body of a monkey. So they become unscientific after some time because they speculate, they don't accept authority. Yes, along with your scientific inquiry, you must have the shelter of the Supreme Personality of God. Then one can relate to both of these things. And after some time, you cannot go much further even in science, modern science, because it's a product of direct sense perception. See, I was a mathematics student. So, in mathematics, there is one called imaginary number. You are familiar with this?
Yes, Prabhu.
Square root of -1.
Yes.
Now, imaginary number means it doesn't exist because you don't deal anything imaginary number-wise. If you go to a shop, you give 10 rupees or $10. It's not imaginary number. But that accepting imaginary number helps solve the problems. Therefore, it somehow or other exists within the number systems. So similarly, we cannot see Krishna directly with our material senses. We cannot see the hand of Krishna everywhere. We don't have that. But by theoretically accepting Krishna's existence, you see how the problem's getting solved. Then Krishna must be a reality, just like square root of -1 is part of the mathematics. So similarly, this is a simple example I'm giving, at least when I was a new devotee, I applied this. And it made me a lot of sense. And then afterwards, everything will fall to place. The 3 types of Vishnus, Mahavishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Shirodaksha Vishnu. When I read that, it just blew my mind. I thought, finally, I got a clear understanding that life comes from a person, not from matter. The first person is Mahavishnu. Second person is Garbhodaksha Vishnu, from whose navel comes Brahma, is a secondary creator. And third comes from Shirodaksha Vishnu, who expands into the heart of every living entity. That's how he controls the whole universe. This is more scientific than a Big Bang theory.
Okay. Prabhuji, my second question was, when we say that we should think of ourselves humble and insignificant, so how does one distinguish between feeling inferiority to or and how does one distinguish oneself from feeling of inferiority and humbleness? Yeah.
See, the point is, humility doesn't mean inferiority complex. Humility is the actual status of living entity. The living entity is 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair. This is given Keshagra Satabhagasya. This everything is clearly explained. Therefore, we are small by nature. And when you realize how small you are, you become humble. There's no need to be proud of anything. So that when you can realize that, when one realizes how insignificant, that is the greatness of the soul. He is insignificant, but he can also love Krishna and control Krishna, the supreme living entity. Otherwise, how can you serve Krishna? If you're puffed up and proud, you cannot serve Krishna. Krishna will not accept your offerings also. So one should be more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, and ready to give respect to others without anticipating any respect for oneself. In such a humble state of existence, one can chant the holy name. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could have said, one should be more humble than Prahlad. How many people know what Prahlad is? Who Prahlad is? Or who Narada Muni is? Nobody knows. Nobody has ever heard of it. But everybody has seen tree and the grass. Everybody sees that every day. We go by grass, we walk on the grass. It never protests. The tree never protests. It gives wood, fruits, leaves, everything it gives. So one should be even more tolerant than a tree, because tree is always cut off, but one should be tolerant, more tolerant. A tree is very tolerant. If they cut off the trees, they will have big problems all over the world. There is no oxygen coming out. Trees give a lot of oxygen. So one to be humble is not inferiority. It is actually the glory of the soul, which is insignificant, but at the same time, he can serve Krishna, and by his love for Krishna, he can control Krishna. Krishna becomes controlled by his devotees. In Braj Bhakti especially, Krishna becomes controlled by his devotees. Insignificance is not inferiority complex. No, that is a wrong understanding.
Okay.
That is ego trip. That somebody cuts off your ego, then you feel very inferior because you lost something. No. This is by knowledge. We are very small, actually, very small. But that small has the power to control the supreme living entity by devotional service, by developing love for it.
Yeah, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu, for answering those questions. I know these were ignorant questions, but I just wanted to ask.
Okay. Any other questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Oh, thank you very much for your such a kind association. In सुंदरकांड से लव मात्र का भी अगर साधु संग मिल जाता है तो बहुत होता है. आपने तो इतना टाइम दिया और आपने इस संस्था को 50 साल से ज्यादा दिए और इतनी सब सेवा कर रहे हो आप, उसके लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका. थैंक यू फॉर सच
जय
नाइस.
हो, आप लोगों का कृपा चाहिए.
हरे कृष्ण.
Yes, we need mercy from all quarters.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we cannot survive because material nature is very powerful.
That is
Kitne bhi
correct.
saal ho,
Yeah.
everything will be tested at the time of death. Ante Narayana Smriti. You are successful when you are remembering Krishna at the time of death, when you are leaving this body. Then we can talk about it. 50 years, 60 years, 50 lifetimes, doesn't matter. But if are you able to think of Krishna, then you are successful. If not, chalo bhai, you have to keep on trying it, life after life.
Very
Mama
nice.
Janmani Sware Bhavatat Bhakti Raheti Pitoi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, you sing in the Guru Ashtakam every day morning. Janme Janme Prabhu say, Narottam Das Thakur said, Tandera Sarana Sevi Bhakta Shanivas, Janame Janame Hoi Ei Abhilash. A devotee is not aspiring for mukti, is aspiring for life after life service to Krishna, because the perfection has no limits in devotional life. And when Krishna is satisfied, if you develop that bhav and prem for Lord, by Guru and Krishna, then one takes birth in the Ante Narayana Smriti happens, and you take birth in the Prakat Leela of the Lord. And then in the association of the Parikars, the eternal associates, you learn the art of serving Krishna. Just a girl gets married to a family. She's already trained up in her house, at least in a reasonably good family. Every girl is trained how to cook, how to do different things. But she is married and she goes to the in-laws' house. She will be retrained in cooking because she is very new to that family. She doesn't know her husband. The mother of the husband knows, so she has to know how to cooperate with the mother-in-law and father-in-law and learn how to please the son. You see, similarly, we as devotees, we are learning so many things. But until we are in the association of the eternal associates of the Lord, in the Prakat Leela, we cannot really become perfect in devotional life. And that is, then only one can go back home. And anyway, in the back home, back ordered, you're not going in this body. You're not even going in this body to your next, in the Prakat Leela. It has to be a spiritualized body. Because this body we have to give up. It will be burnt to ashes.
So
there's a whole process.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So we have many senses, right? Touch,
Yes.
hear, and taste and see, right? So
Yes.
why we give so much importance to see? Why we say, oh, we want to do darshan Krishna? We can also feel Krishna with anubhuti or his lila or his creature. Then, I mean, eyes are good, but Surdas never had eyes, right? He has so much love with Krishna. He has so much connection with Krishna.
Exactly.
So I think I think we give too much importance to eyes. Eye witness means a great thing, That's
no.
not a right.
In a spiritual life, everything depends on hearing.
Yeah.
Hearing, by hearing, that's why there are many types of chakshus. One is direct sense perception, pratyaksha, anuman, inference. Third is shastra. It has to come to the platform of shastra. Even Surdas, they were all expert in shastra. They were not ignorant people. Bilvamangal Thakur was also blind. He had written so many beautiful things. Krishna Karnamrita, the famous book. So you can see they had no eyes, but the shastric knowledge was imbibed in their heart because they have heard their guru. That South Indian Brahmin who met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whom Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met him in Srirangam, he was illiterate. and his guru ordered him to read Bhagavad Gita every day. Now he had so much faith in the guru that he would just take the Bhagavad Gita and flip the pages. He cannot read one word. He didn't question his guru, "Arey, why is my guru giving such instruction? He knows I cannot read." No, your duty is to follow the guru with implicit faith, whether you know it or not. But what is the result of that? That whenever he would read Bhagavad Gita, he would remember the picture of Krishna driving the chariot of Arjuna comes into his mind. The mind was so purified because of his surrender to his guru. This picture comes and he understands how great Krishna is, that is ready to serve his servant to such a degree. Krishna was such a perfect servant. He was not only just riding chariot, driving the chariot, but he would take care of the horses and he would make sure Arjuna first gets up on the chariot. He doesn't sitting on top of the chariot. "Hey, Arjuna, come on in." No. He is a perfect servant. He is serving Arjuna because he accepted that service. So first Arjuna gets on the chariot, then Krishna comes in. Like whenever we are drivers, if you are a driver, you know that. You first get out of the car, quickly open the door so that the master gets in, then close the door, then you get inside again. Any driver will do that. So similarly, all these great personalities, they have eyes or no eyes, it doesn't matter. The main thing is hearing. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dhat. First is Shravan. If you don't hear, you cannot do anything. Generally, the best student in a class is one who hears properly. He hears and he understands the subject matter. Even in the material world, it's like that. But the same thing is applied in spiritual life. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. What are you hearing? We are hearing about Krishna. And then the memory will awaken, especially if you are in touch with the pure devotee. And then when the memory awakens, that is the perfection. Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakya, that comes afterwards. But Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, then comes everything. All the 9 processes will manifest. Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela. This comes from the time when Shuddhanam descends on the tongue. That is in the stage of Ashakti, where Bhajaniya, the object of Bhajan, is more prominent than the Bhajan itself. And then he goes to the stage of Bhav. And then he goes to the stage of Prema. And Prema, it is a whole development. Sneha, Man, Pranaya, Bhav, like that it goes, Adiruddha, and so many things. So many stages it comes. Prema only, what we talk is love of God, is only a general sense. But there is a details of the Prema. That is all given in this Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada talks in great details. So therefore, as you said it correctly, it is not seeing. Seeing does not come, cannot come from this eye. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santa sadaiva hrideshu vidoya. That your prema chakshu has to come to see Krishna. Once you have that, you will see Krishna everywhere and all the time. Krishna says, one who sees me in everything and everything in me, he is never lost to me, nor am I ever lost to him. That is the perfection of seeing, not this eyes. This is the conditioned eyes, contaminated.
Very nice.
Any other?
Very nice.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Any other question?
No, thank you.
Jai Ho. So we'll do a little bhajan. Okay? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Everybody.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
जय गोपी चंद बल्लभ गिरधरधारी।
जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी।
जय गोपी चंद बल्लभ
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन।
जय यशोदानंदन ब्रज रज रंजन।
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन।
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन।
जमुना तीरा वनचारी।
जमुना तीरा वनचारी।
यमुना तीरा वनचारी।
यमुना तीरा वनचारी।
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी।
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 हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे
Hare
राम
Krishna,
राम राम हरे हरे।
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama Rama,
Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
निताई गौर हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि
जय गो
Hari
बोल, हरि बोल।
Sai Gaura
Hari
Hari
Bol,
Hari
Bol,
Bol, Hari Bol,
Bol,
Hari
Hari
Bol,
Bol.
Hari Bol.
जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा, प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा।
Jaya
Jaya
Jai
Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada,
Pada,
Jaya
Prabhu
Prabhupada,
Pada,
Jaya
Jai
Prabhupada.
Prabhu Pada.
जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा, गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा।
Jaya
Jaya
Guru Deva
Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya
Jai
Gurudeva,
Gurudeva,
Jaya
Jai
Gurudeva.
Gurudeva.
जय निताय जय गौर, जय निताय जय गौर।
Jaya
Jai
Nitai
Nitai, Jai
Jaya
Gaur,
Guru, Jaya
Jai
Jaya
Nitai,
Nitai,
Jaya
Jaya
Jai
Guru.
Gaur.
गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि
Hari
बोल।
bol.
All
Hari
Brahman.
bol.
Hari Hari
की
Hari
Bol.
bol.
जय, श्री
Hari
गुरुदेव की
bol.
जय, गोविंदाय राधा रमन की राज की, गोवर्धन की
Jai.
जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय,
Jai.
श्रीमद् गोस्वामी की जय,
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada's transcendental
Ki
purports की
Jai.
जय हो।
Jai.
All glories to assembled devotees, Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
All glories to assembled devotees, Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare
All glories to
Krishna.
assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All
Hare
glories,
Krishna.
all glories, all glories, Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories, Srila Prabhupada, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda की जय।
His Grace Ramachandra Prabhu ki jai.
Ki Jai.
Jai.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this
Thank you,
nectar class.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Lagna
Hari
sir.
Bol.